and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate World Podcast. We are live here at the Real Estate World Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, one of my Wake Up Warrior brothers. Steve, can you introduce yourself? You can do it much more eloquently than I can. Tell us your name, where you're at, and what do you do?
Okay, Steve Leitch, and currently in South Carolina. I staff medical oncologists, hematologists, and locum tenens short-term contracts. As you can imagine, healthcare is very interesting right now. And I'm very fortunate to work for an incredible company called Weatherby Healthcare. And met you, Scott, 49 weeks ago or something?
It's almost a full year.
Is it 50? Is it 50?
Because it was April 1st, right? Or April 2nd?
Yeah, when we were getting our faces smashed in. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, we are, what was there, 12 of us in a dumpster, having people throw shovels of gravel and spraying us with freezing cold water.
Yeah. I think I remember the ice baths the most.
Yeah. We need to teach you men how to make decisions when you're under stress. I'm like, well, I didn't see this one coming. So
yeah. So it's great to be here, man. I'm excited to chat with you and get caught up.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. One of the things we're trying to do this week with the podcast is touch base, and it looks like my brother Jeremy is going to join us too. He's our producer, and he's got like a thumb over the screen or something. But anyway, we're trying to reach out to people and see what's going on throughout the country. We have this addiction, I think, sometimes to news reports and the internet and what, talk radio and the nightly news and nonstop 24/7 news cycle of, every minute by minute update of, the latest, numbers of people who've been tested, who've been sick, who are infirmed, who have passed away. And I'm really curious, like what are the folks, the real people, seeing and feeling, doing? And Steve, you're kind of the front lines, right? I mean, you're your profession. I mean,
I'm not, but yeah, the doctors are.
Sure. You're closer to the front lines than the layperson. And being in South Carolina, has there been a huge burden on the health system so far? Are people kind of waiting and seeing? Are you guys quarantining? What's going on with your day-to-day?
So I think that, we'll start with the family aspect. The first thing that we really saw happen was schools were yanked out, and immediately everybody was on e-learning. So right now we've got middle schooler at home, senior in high school at home, and even college at home, all doing school online. And that was like, okay, this is changing. The schools were really the first to respond and say we're out. Then we saw from a church level, our church, all the other churches, really boom, all of a sudden going to online. So then my wife's job moved to home. I work remote. So all of a sudden we're completely at home and we've got decisions to make. We're seeing a lot of people going out, continuing doing the same thing. But it was very interesting. And this is where my heart really kind of like sank a little bit, was when I saw the restaurants, because I immediately thought, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be hard on so many people, because the restaurants shutting down, and then small businesses, and then theaters. And it was like, I don't think people took it seriously. They were living somewhere in between anxiety. So it was one of two levels. It was really like anxiety or arrogance, anxiety because the data downloads all day long from the news, and then going into like arrogance, like this is no worse than the flu. Right.
And where do you like? And I find myself trapped between the two extremes, and the pendulum swings, from one end to the other. There's the anxiety of, okay, I've got a small business. I'm a small business owner. We have a property management company, real estate brokerage. And, you can when the restaurants close down, and then the theaters, and you start seeing these, the travel industry is non-existent right now. The airline industries, you start seeing people, you start seeing, and you start getting people reaching out to you as tenants, like, we were laid off. We don't know what we're going to do. Is there a plan for rents in place? And, what we, so it's hitting us, now via our tenants. And as a kind of a proactive measure, our staff went through and we got a list of like 25 different places where people can get food, mental health assistance, financial assistance, whether it be unemployment, disaster aid, temp agencies. If, someone does want to try to get a temporary job until they get back, because no one knows. I think that's the hardest thing, right? Like, nobody knows when, what is it, March 25th. We don't know when things are going to get back to some semblance of normal, right? Like, how long have they been closed in South Carolina, the restaurants?
So I think I want to say it's been like 12 days, 14 days, somewhere in there. But again, time is completely different right now. Like a week feels like a month.
Right. Being home with your wife and kids will do that.
Actually, that's the gift.
I know, I'm kidding.
That's it. No, I'm calling you out. That's the gift. A word said in jest has some truth. We're actually enjoying that part. But again, I mean, it's a new norm. And whenever there's an uncertainty, of what's come, it's like, so how are you going to ground yourself? You're always going to fail to the level of your foundation.
Right.
So, again, it's going back to, where are we? What are we doing? How are we, what do our routines look like? And when an upheaval comes like this, it's like, okay, well, what are the basic choices we're going to make on a daily basis? Is kind of like where I've leveled out at,
Right. Well, I found that, like, I was really good at doing a daily gratitude and positive focus, a exercise where you'd write down 5 things I'm grateful for every morning. 5 things, it could be as simple as I'm alive, I'm pretty grateful for that.
With everything you've got going on, 100%.
Yeah. My family, and my business, whatever. And then in the evenings, I would do a positive focus, like write down 5 positive things that happened that day. What are 5 accomplishments? It could be, I went for a walk. I did 50 push-ups. And Steve, me doing 50 push-ups is quite an accomplishment. There is a video floating around somewhere in cyberspace of me trying to do 50 push-ups this time last year and failing quite miserably.
Yeah, I think it was that. I think
failing dramatically, I think.
Falling flat on your face.
Yeah. So, but I got away from doing that this week. And, I have seen the difference in my positive focus, my optimism has dropped because I wasn't doing that simple exercise. And like today, I'm going to because what I did is I had these books and I'd filled up the books. Yeah. So today I'm going to make copies of the books. Like you could do it on a piece of paper, but for some reason the book was like a trigger for me to get it done every day. So just doing that, in the morning and the evening, and just saying, okay, I'm thankful for, I have gratitude for X, these 5 things, or it could be 3 things, whatever number you want. And then at night saying, I accomplished these things. Right. And then having like a purposeful planned out day, even if you're going to stay at home. Right. And maybe your workload is lessened right now. For a lot of people it is. It's probably 0 for some people if they're laid off. But like the night before, taking looking at your schedule the next day and giving yourself things to do. Right. And then focusing on those, I'm going to, maybe it's go for a walk. Maybe it's clean the closet, right? Just being purposeful and intentional with your thinking and your creating a mindset. Like you said, you brought up, we all fail to our foundation, or I think a guy, Chris Voss, said it, people think that we rise to the occasion, but in reality, you fail to your highest level of preparedness, right? Like
Right.
what have I been trained and what have I practiced and for situations like this? That's what I'm gonna retreat to.
And I think
And
that's the hard part, like what we're talking about. Like if you have everything stripped away, like who are you at the core? You know, and every day when you get up, you've kind of got a choice. And fear creates that choice. It creates the choice of action or inaction. You can either let it paralyze you, or you can, figure out what do I want to learn and grow from this situation. Um, and it's quickly establishing those routines every day. Like I'm gonna ground myself in my faith, ground myself in my family, ground myself in, in my fitness. Body, being, balance, and business. You know,
right,
um,
right.
same things. And what am I going to do to accomplish certain things at work today? Because it's not going to be easy. And how does that change? How do the conversations change? Are you going to, here's the thing. You remember 2008, 2009.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we went through it.
Yeah,
And
I
I
was in
can
real
remember,
estate then. Like
yeah,
the
yeah. Well, I
world,
was
we
in
thought the
restaurant.
world was,
I was in the
yeah.
restaurant. Yeah. I mean, so my foundation was so crumbly and so weak, and so that I was like, how do I prepare for when this happens again? And it's going to, it will. It's cyclical. It's going to happen. Things will happen. But it's not easy, it's not easy at all, especially with the news. I would say just fear mongering.
Yeah, I mean the news,
I mean, the first thing you need to do is unplug from the news.
right.
That's the best thing you could do.
Well, that's the thing people don't understand. Like they're the news is trying to get clicks. It's clickbait, and the negativity sells. They sell the fear, right? Fear and
Yeah.
greed. They sell one of the two, but fear is much more powerful for them to get the clicks and get eyeballs glued to the set. And I kind of just want to just turn the TV off. I mean, for the most part, I try not to watch TV right now, unless it's like some post-apocalyptic
Pandemic.
yeah, pandemic, yeah, right, yeah, Contagion or something, really awful like that.
We actually did watch that the other night.
Oh, did you? Oh,
The girls are all freaked out.
that'll lift the spirits, right?
Yeah. But it opened up conversation.
Yeah, and I think as long as this can be somewhat minimized, the actual loss of life, there's lessons to be learned from this. I think throughout humanity, right? Like throughout the whole world, like what are the maybe some things that we were doing personally weren't adequate, right? And I think we start with ourselves because that's where we can make the most change.
100%.
And and then that's tough because when you start yourself, that means you become accountable, and you accept responsibility to some degree. And I've been kind of ready for this to happen, but I wasn't ready for the magnitude and the speed in which it happened. Like this reminds me, this is like 2008 you mentioned. 2008 was tough. 2009, 10
Yeah.
was very
It felt
tough.
like a longer burn.
Yeah, I felt like it started a little slower. There was some level of I don't know. It was I felt like, to use the word contagion, but I felt it was like there was it wasn't as swift and as far reaching, right?
Right.
I mean, it reminds you of growing up. Like I was telling my brother this morning, it reminds you of growing up on the farm in the 80s in Minnesota. 50,000 family farms went out of business in Minnesota, and I grew up on a family farm in the 80s. And it felt like the whole world was ending because that was my world. I was 7, 8,
Right.
9 years old, and that was my world. Like, but this is actually the world right now, where the whole world is being faced with not just the health concern of the virus and the potential loss of life, but also the economic concerns, which lead to stress and are also could cause loss of life too.
Yeah.
Because stress when you're under a period, periods of enormous stress, and that could be from your finances, could be from health, could be just the perception of issues, that suppresses your immune system and makes you more susceptible to sickness. It can have a real negative impact on just your worldview and how you look at things, and can leave you scarred for years, afterwards. So like, this is going to change.
I
Go
think
ahead.
it's like what I think it's like what you're talking about too, is like you're grounding yourself in gratitude and positivity on a daily basis. And I had this conversation this morning with someone on the team. I said, if you let your mind get too far ahead, it will become apocalyptic.
Right.
Because the mind can make up some great stories, but if you ground yourself in that day and what can I do today, you'll find it's a lot better, especially when you can put it into perspective. Like, so then you can maybe look back to, let's think about what it was like during Vietnam or World War II, World War One, or Spanish flu or polio, or, start looking back and going, what did it look like back then? And people made it through and not only survived, but thrived.
Right.
So what are some of the key things back then that help people adapt and grow and learn, and again, it's not easy. It's like, it's going to take work, but if you don't ground yourself one day at a time, your mind will start playing games.
I like that approach, the single hitter, right? Like, we talk about in Warrior a lot, right?
Yeah. No home runs.
No home runs, just,
We'll leave a home run for every now and again.
Do you guys feel, and this, I hope this isn't a loaded question, but do you feel like the answer is just shutter yourself up in your house for the next 2 to 3 weeks and just wait it out? Or, I think there are, there are people in different camps here where, to some extent you gotta kind of get outside and just kind of get on with your life.
Sounds like a poll question.
Yeah.
Sounds like a what?
A poll question. A question for today's
Put
poll.
a poll on Facebook?
Yeah.
Probably.
So I kind of took the approach, this is what I explained to my family. And right or wrong, don't know, just how we went about it. I kind of decided I didn't want the government to tell me what to do. So when we had everybody home working from home, it was kind of like, okay, we're going to limit our exposure by our choice. So then we can choose to make this look, our new routines look and how it is, including, going out for family walks or, working in the yard or, like Scott, I'm training for a big swim this summer,
right.
And the swimming pool's closed. So now I've got to go out and run. So you just adapt and you change, what you're doing, but it's always easier to swallow when you're making that choice, because otherwise you'll start going into that victim mentality of like, oh, I'm being told to do this.
Right.
Oh, that big, mean, nasty government, they're making it. Well, okay. How seriously do you want it? You can either choose to keep going out and doing what you're doing, or you can choose not to. It's your choice.
No, I can appreciate that, because I'm a big, believer in individual liberty, and I make no secret about that. I like the freedoms we have in this country. I appreciate them more, I think, than most people do. Or maybe not, I don't know. But, and you're right. When you own the decision, right. And you say, look, this is, I can go out to the mall and lick the rails on escalators today just to prove a point, right? I'm going to show you. Yeah, I choose to lick all the buttons on the elevator, every elevator I go to, right? Like, I'm going to prove that I'm the man, right? No, not really. You're proving you're going to make sure that you proved you're the biggest moron in the world.
It's actually called natural selection.
Natural selection. Thank you. Very Darwinian of you. But the fact is like, where do there's no right or wrong here. Like, if you have feelings like, I want to see people, that's good. We're social creatures, right? That's good. But maybe use it as a reason or an opportunity to learn how to use Zoom, Do a Zoom meeting with your friends that you haven't seen. Use some of the other social media tools that, they can't replace a hug, but it can be an opportunity to grow, expand your mind a little bit, your intellect. And when we get through this, you'll have those skills. Those skills won't go away. So if you do need to do it, like we practice Zoom, starting last summer. I made it mandatory that we do Zoom meetings. And I'll tell you what, we practice on Facebook, some with disastrous results at time, and start a podcast. But now those getting outside of our comfort zone allows us to do this, and Steve, I haven't had a long conversation like this with you in a very long time. So it's awesome. Like,
yeah, we do the Zoom meetings every Saturday morning. Actually, our company, our CEO of our company, our parent company, 2,000 people on a Zoom meeting yesterday. Just
really?
going through you want to know how powerful that was? Like from the top down, getting everyone together. Here's our strategy, and here's how I need you guys involved. And that's a company like CHG, Weatherby Healthcare, like just care about their people when you see them involving them and saying we're not going to be a victim to what's happening. And you teed it up perfectly. It's like I think people will get to the point where they're so busy fighting everyone else on the decisions they're making, because like, no, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. Okay, well, okay, so you don't agree. Then make your own choice.
Right.
Now, what are you going to do for yourself, your family, and those around you?
No, that's good.
Could be right or wrong.
No, I agree. Jeremy, you had something?
Yeah, I had just in the last day, I think I've had 3 or 4 conversations with people over the phone that were doing the exact same thing I was doing, is just kind of flipping through my phone book and finding people that I haven't talked to for a while, and just start randomly dialing people and like, hey, I'm really bored. Let's have a 20-minute talk about what you're doing. So, even in times of really weird crisis, there's always opportunities to, there's an opportunity to make connections with people that you haven't seen or talked to for a while. And, just the opportunity or the obstacle is the way, right, Scott?
The obstacle is the way, Ryan Holiday.
The obstacle is the way. Yeah.
Right. But I will tell you, and I think a lot of people, it's okay to be happy, right? It's okay to laugh right now. Like,
yeah.
Is there anything that's better for you than humor and laughter and joy? I mean, these are things that have been proven to boost your immunity, your immune system, right? And make you healthier. Yeah. And it's okay to like call up a friend and joke about old times, or tell, a funny joke, or, send those inappropriate texts that don't open a text for me, by the way, right now. I have too much time on my hand.
At least if there's a link, don't click on it.
Never. It's got a virus for sure.
Oh man.
The laughter piece is huge. We started at home, just like I called it the CCC, the COVID commode confessionals. And I set up a little tripod in the commode so we can do little videos each day of just like a video diary vlog for the family, for each person. And, by the second day, it just turned into like hilarity. Like now we're together and the commode confessionals. But interesting point, you're talking about reaching out via social media, via Zoom, all these things. So let's look back. Okay. Internet comes out. All of a sudden, you remember like early mid-90s, all these chat rooms open up, right? So people are choosing to go in chat rooms, sit in their house, in their study by themselves, pulling themselves away from the world, talking to other people online because it's the coolest thing ever, and are thinking like, this is the coolest thing ever. Now it's being forced upon them, and they're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, you were choosing to do this, but now because you have to do it, you don't like it.
Yeah, it's like Jeremy with World of Warcraft and Fortnite, probably.
But you know what I'm saying?
Never got into that.
That all comes down to mindset again. Like, what's your mindset in this whole thing?
Well, the new thing, and actually I just had one yesterday in the Rotary Club that I've been thinking about joining for the last 8 months. It was a virtual happy hour where everybody joined like a Google Hangout room. Of course, I wasn't driving or anything during the time. But everybody's just kind of chilling out during their regular weekly Rotary Club meeting time, and it was kind of cool just to see everybody, granted sitting at home in their jammies, but it's a good way to get together, reconnect as people, because like you said, we're social beings, and it's just good to have that interaction. And God bless 2020, we've got the technology to basically do it however you want.
Well, I think you got to remind people, oh, by the way, people can see you on the video calls. So
right.
if you're not wearing pants, don't stand up.
Right.
Or tilt the camera up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so when my parents came across from Scotland to Chicago in 1966, you're talking about there was no phone lines at that point. Everything was done by wire. And then they ran phone lines underneath the Atlantic, and you had to book a phone call 2 weeks in advance. So this is less than 100 years ago.
Right.
And now it's like everybody's got it at their fingertips. And like, boom, you can immediately be in contact with someone or something. It's right there. But again, how do you want to connect?
Well, and I'll tell you, the cell phone, the smartphone, however you want to describe it now, it liberated the third world, right? Like the developing world, we'll call it. Maybe the third world is dating myself a little bit, but the developing world was liberated by wireless, right? Because it's expensive to run cables under, in the Atlantic. It's expensive to run phone lines up in the bush of the bush anywhere. The bush could be the bush of Alabama, right, or northern Minnesota, or Canada.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Nick Jones down in Australia.
What's that?
I'll have to ask Nick Jones down in Australia.
Oh yeah, Jonesy. But like this, I remember going to this is 15 years ago, going to like Southeast Asia and going up in in Vietnam on one of these hikes and stuff, and everybody had a cell phone. Like there's a place called Sapa, and it's the there's a bunch of Hmong tribes that are still up there in that area, and they were living. And I don't know if this was like a tourist thing or if people were actually living in them, but they had these mud huts. But everybody there had a cell phone, and it had the service was better. Like I got an international card, and I swear the service was better there than it was driving down I-35 in many places here.
Well, they probably had 1G back then, better than roaming.
Right, exactly. So I don't know. So what are you doing to stay sane? What's the Leitch household sanity break glass for sanity plan here?
Honestly, so for me, I'm a creature of habit. I immediately want to get routines in place. That's kind of the big thing is routines. Got to get outside. Like got to get outside. So still getting up at the same time. Actually, it's a little bit later. It's about 30 minutes later. Getting up at 5 instead of 4:30. Kind of nice sleeping in. Not gonna lie. And but again, it's not. I think staying sane is just not giving into this thing. Like saying no, you're gonna go do this. No, you're gonna get this done. Having some laughs, having dinner together. We started having breakfast together in the mornings, which, it's not perfect. It's not great. Doesn't always go on. Nobody knows what to talk about sometimes. So I think kind of just coming together and realize and then listening to I think the hard thing is listening to my kids and understanding what they're missing out on. Because for me,
how old are they?
So we've got a range. We've got from 11 to 20.
Okay.
So, I think that's why we started the video blog, because it was like, okay, I'd love to document this so you can go back and watch it. Like watch in 20 years, go back and watch COVID-19 in 20, and kind of remember that, because there's a lot of stuff I don't remember from not journaling. I didn't start to journal until I got involved in Warrior 2 years ago.
Right.
So I feel like I missed out. I've only got what memories I can remember. And that can be a little bit limited because I didn't get sober till 9 years ago,
Right.
So, again, just grounding myself, man. Knowing that it's not, again, it's perfection. Just like keeping moving, but also trying to find the gifts every day. Like, what are the gifts in what we're doing? And if we're going to compare it to, so the perspective makes it a better situation. Not what are we missing out on, but what are we actually gaining? Because I think, it comes a sense of entitlement, like we're supposed to be entitled to certain things in life because that's how the last 5 decades has always been done through a couple generations. But is that true? Like, again, it's the stories that actually create prisons for us. So
Right.
I'm really trying to stay rooted in who I am and remembering that, like, okay, so we strip away the jobs, we strip away the house, we strip away the cars, we strip away vacations. Like, who am I in the core? Am I still going to stand up and do the right thing and still speak truth every day? I'm going to stay grounded in my faith every day, So really trying to just like lean into those things about who I am at the core, because there's so much out of our control, right? I mean, Scott can control Scott's decisions.
Right.
And that's what's driving the fear across the country is, I think when everything's booming, everyone's, revenue covers all things. Remember that saying? So like, it's kind of the country's been in this boom, like, oh, everything's great. Then the black swan hits, and it's like the mask is taken off and revealed, and it's like, whoa, I guess we weren't all doing that good.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the one of the unfortunate lessons here is when things were booming, unemployment was all-time lows. If you wanted a job, you could get one. If you wanted work, you could get it. But now, like, what happens in periods of economic expansion or boom is that we tend to get a little careless, with our spending, and like we over leverage our time and our finances as well. And you take a hyper competitive industry like the restaurant industry, and you see very quickly how tenuous people's financial footing is, right? And how, I always said, that there's 2 careers if you want to get into that that are exciting, but also miserable, are farming and the restaurant business, because you could never. And I worked in that industry for 8 years. I loved I loved working in it. But the problem is that you're running on thin margins, and it was very competitive, and it didn't take much of a shock to push a restaurant into insolvency, right? And you see, there's in the Twin Cities here, Minneapolis, St. Paul, we just had a very famous, I guess, for lack of a better word, restaurateur. They had to shut everything down like everyone else, and the last paycheck, she didn't have enough money to pay all her employees.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that on your
and what my point in posting that wasn't to pile on. Her name was Kim Bartman, I believe. It is to just simply say, look, like, this is someone I'm sure everyone perceived was doing well, right? And was just living high off the hog, so to speak. But she was, once someone turned the spigot of cash flow off, suddenly she is out of money, just cannot pay the last paycheck, and then continue to pay rent and keep everything else afloat. So and I'm telling you, for most places, the ability to do take up and drive up service is not even close to even getting a fraction of the revenue that these people need. Number one, I mean, I don't drink right now, but
hopefully you keep up with that, by the way.
Yeah. I don't want to. Like, it's crazy. Like, and not to like get off too far into the weeds, but
no, I think we should talk about it.
Yeah, well, I don't want everyone's eyes to gloss over, but the the thing is with alcohol, with me, is alcohol was one of those things. sometimes, people drink for how it makes them feel. But for me, it was, I drank for what it made me not feel,
Yeah.
and
Sedation.
yeah, yeah. And it was, sedation. And unfortunately, inevitably by the end of the, whatever session we'd have, if I kept going, all those feelings would come back magnified, or, the
Right.
point where I kind of lost control of them or whatever. And then, you'd say things and do things that you clearly weren't proud of the next day. And then you spend the next, week, whatever, in shame, right? Just debilitating shame and self-loathing and, guilt that, you're like, why would I continue to subject myself to that for this hour of two of high, that you get, and then have to spend the next, it could have been a few days, could have been a week or more of just feeling just horrible about myself. Right. And that's, that's the thing, like, and then to go back to my original point though, but, as a restaurant, this is where most of them make all their money. Like the food is what they bait you to get you in the door, and the booze is how they make, that's the profit.
Right.
But I mean, so.
But do you find yourself making better decisions right now? Like, I mean, you talk about how am I staying sane and grounded throughout this. So for you, are you finding that this is a key piece to you making wiser decisions, better decisions? Like I'm totally leading you right now, but I shouldn't be. Like,
No, are you asking, am I still a moron? Yes. The answer is yes. I am still a moron.
Oh, no.
I still do stupid things. No, but I do them sober now, and I remember them. No, but I think I make better decisions. I'm definitely clearer. My thing, I was one of, if you ever read the big book, the AA book, I think I have it.
Yeah.
It's in my car. But, they talk about, how alcoholics justify, their behavior. For me, it was always, didn't matter how much I drank the night before, I always dusted myself off and went to work the next day. So that was one of the stories I told myself, that, no matter what I said, what I did, I was at work and I was making money the next day. So therefore it's okay. Right. It's okay.
Right.
No matter what I said, what I did, whose feelings I hurt. If I hurt myself, because I hurt myself a lot, falling down or running into things, like just, I physically hurt myself. Never anybody else for the most part, but myself for some reason, yeah, it is, in my words, I heard a lot of people things I would say, I think I bit Jeremy's finger off once or something, or tried to, that one was your pinky. So, not proud of any of these moments, but, getting it away a little bit and getting further away from those moments, you get perspective, right? And it helps you
There's a
see
clarity.
Yeah, clarity. I have, greater clarity of, like, so some of the problems that led to my behaviors are still there, like some of the, you talk about the subconscious things, the daddy issues or whatever, or the, the things that, may have given me trauma growing up are still there, and I'm working on those, and doing, doing some work with, like, Psych K, like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, and trying to reprogram that. But, but there's, and there's some other things that are, more recent, grievances that, that I just need to just methodically work through, but I have the clarity and the, and just a better framework for working through them now versus, adding to the list of transgressions.
I think, sorry to interrupt, Steve.
On you go.
But there comes a certain point where, if you're having 3 or 4 drinks after work every day, or, every evening, that becomes the new normal. And And part of that little bit of a rush that you get is to feel different. So sometimes when you take that away, the actual event of taking that away gives you something different. So it's like, I mean, I've had a case of beer in my garage that one of my friends got for me that works at a distribution company. So basically dirt cheap, but it's like, I've got that there, but for me to feel a little bit different, it's kind of like seeing that as I walk through the house every day. It's like, I can have that, but I kind of want to feel different and just not have that right now.
It's a really good point, because so much, if you look at like what alcohol, when you're in the system, how much alcohol influences your behavior in ways you don't even think about, like, happy hour. Well, I got to get the happy hour. It means I got to be there by 6, right? And better drink 3 or 4 quick, right? Because it ends at 6, and I got here at 5. I'm going to drive home, but I'm not that drunk, right? And like when you go to dinner, well, I got to have some drinks with dinner, or I posted this today on my Facebook wall. That there's talks of the shelter in place here in Minnesota, and the mad rush to the liquor store that you see as a, I think somebody made a comment, which, whatever. I'm not criticizing anybody for their opinions. One was that everybody, if this settles someone down, or if they have like a dependency and they don't have their alcohol, then they might act out even worse, right? So you're kind of like, you're balancing 2 issues here. And I'm not going to judge anybody. I'm only going to talk about myself. And, for me, it was just like getting away from it, getting perspective and clarity. I see how much alcohol was influencing and running my life.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I like what you're saying there, Jeremy. Just like, you are making that choice. And that's the powerful statement, is like, it's there, but I'm choosing to do this. It's kind of like, can you take a quick fix, or is there something different I could do that could give me a different gift? I'm not saying alcohol is right or wrong for anyone. It's just I've seen how me not drinking has definitely helped me make better decisions. And also I found myself investing in myself a lot more, just coaching programs, going through coaching programs. Now I'm able to coach others, coaching other people right now, and working with another group of guys. And it's great because you're able to make more clear choices that can have a more positive impact over time. I think also with addiction, it's very easy to get addicted to things that aren't great for you, but it's very hard to make good choices over and over and over and over and over. And that takes the flip in the brain, like how I'm going to flip the script and say, I know this is good for me. I need to be doing this. And you start weeding the garden on different areas of your life, and putting the mirror back on yourself, instead of going, I'm just going to sweep it on the rug. I'm trying to get back to normal. We talked about this a lot in Warriors. Like for so many years, I was always trying to get back to normal instead of like growth. I want to grow. I want to learn. I want to create. I want to build. I want to, have a stronger family, have stronger family connections, instead of just like getting back to normal.
Yeah. The first step is to stop digging, right?
Like what's normal?
Yeah.
Is it normal? Is that easy? I mean, driving on the highways, I've heard this before, like driving on the highway to get somewhere very easy, but it might not be as pretty as taking a windy mountain road, which might be a little bit more harder, take a bit longer, but you're going to have an overall better experience on the way there. So I like that, Jeremy.
Yeah, and I think the great philosopher James Hetfield said it the best in Master of Puppets with Metallica. We all have our masters, and we all have our masters who we have to bow down. And alcohol is just it's the creeping death that eventually just kind of grabs at you, and then okay, now you're serving alcohol. Where if you just take a little bit of a break, whether that's 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 months, or whatever, and just put things back into perspective, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah, and that's the one
Now,
thing I've done is I've left all the booze in the house. Like I don't
right
ask
now,
anybody
you are the
around me
master.
not to drink around me. And in fact, like when we go to dinner, we usually still sit at the bar and it's right there. And the way I get through it is I'm like, I'm not having a drink today. You know, like you try, like it's kind of like coronavirus. Are you trying to project out 3 months what's going to happen, or you know what, why don't we focus on today's
Choice
decisions
right now. Yeah. What choice I'm going to make right now
right
for
now?
this situation. Yeah. Yeah. That's power. That's awesome.
Yeah, just put it in compartments that you can manage.
And I want to drink with a little umbrella.
There you go. No, that's the funny thing is, like we talk about, you know, you being a victim or a victor. Like we're supposed to be in Florida right now for Disney World. It's day 3 of our vacation, or 4, I guess. We're supposed to arrive Sunday. So, you know, I kind of got a little dark about that. I'm like the last family trips we went on, there was Laguna in August. I find out I have a brain tumor.
Brain tumor. Yeah.
My wife gets Phoenix and over Thanksgiving. My wife stays back, has cellulitis, is hospitalized for 2 weeks, almost loses a leg. And then this one, we're supposed to go to Disney World, and you know, Corona, you know, the world ends. And I'm just
you were in Disney this time last year, right before Warrior Week.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're
Actually, Stacy was supposed to go to Florida this weekend too, Scott.
Well, she can still go, can't she? Just can't go to the beach.
She was going with her best friend because her best friend had a clinic in Florida. So she's like, well, I get to bring one person with. And then that gets canceled, which is great because I was supposed to be stuck at home with all 3 kids, which I love my kids, but I like also having a wing person with me. So I wish she could have gone, but I'm also secretly no longer a secret, but I'm kind of secretly happy that she didn't get to.
Yeah, exactly. You're making the best of the situation, right? Like it's all about mindset and perspective, like
right.
most things in life. So that's awesome. Well, we're getting towards the end. Steve, any words of wisdom you want to share before we sign off?
Words of wisdom, and just keep investing in yourself. You know, keep grounded in your faith and invest in yourself and invest in your family on a daily basis. And, you know, we're all going to get through this one way or the other. It's going to be tougher for others. But I think it's, you know, just love the people around you and love everyone you can and spread positivity, you know. Like,
yeah.
Don't give in to the fear, you know, because fear, don't let it paralyze you.
So are you going to make a prediction as to when this ends? It's all done?
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're not cornering me. You're not cornering me that one.
Not to make light of it, but yeah, like I just don't know. Like
when do I hope it's done?
Yeah,
On a very basic level, I hope that President Trump, Easter, you know, we're all back up and running, because I'd love to see the restaurant, small businesses, everybody back to work again. That's where my heart is really, really heavy right now for those businesses. And again, it's like, I think there's this conversation of going back to normal, but I don't think it's going to be normal when it goes back. I think it's going to evolve and change again. You know, so how do we get better as a nation at, like, caring for one another? I mean, you're seeing a lot of that going on right now, and you're seeing a lot more people. I've noticed that a lot more people out walking. You know, get in fresh air, like, fantastic. Get out in nature a bit more, unplug, you know, get off the news channels. I think that's just the game, is how are we going to, instead of going back to normal, like, how are we going to grow and learn from this so we can, you know, love and care for one another better.
Yeah, normal's an illusion, right? Like, you know, you never cross the same river twice.
It's a lie, yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a lie.
well, and you know, whether you be a Greenpeace environmentalist or someone who burns tires in their backyard and pours oil down the drain, you can't deny that the Earth is getting a break right now a little bit from a lot of the pollution. You know, and I'm neither of those extremes. I'm like I'm not. I don't burn tires in my backyard. I do it in my neighbors. No, but the earth is getting a break, and we as people, like, get outside, enjoy the air. I run. Sorry, Jeremy, I won't be running with you today, but because I got 5 miles in this morning already. But tomorrow, well, you're gonna be here tomorrow?
I got all the kids,
Okay, so probably
I'll
not,
be
but
working remotely.
Friday. But you get that, you still get those funny looks. I'm not quite used to that because you're running by people. I'm always smiling, saying hi, good morning, good afternoon, how like thumbs up. But every once in a while you run across someone who's just kind of giving you that weird look, like, is this 6 feet away or not? And you just want to run up and hug that person, but you probably get a restraining order put on you or arrested or something crazy like that.
Don't start coughing.
No, it's not funny, people. It's not funny. Too soon. So it is great. I agree. Seeing people out and walking around, it's get that.
I mean, you got to think something's happening right now that hasn't happened in probably 100 years. Since the Industrial Revolution. Mom and dads are back in the house.
Right.
For those situations, they're still together. And there are all different situations, but let me retract that. Families are back in the house together.
Families, yeah.
Let's call it families. So, because I don't want anyone to get upset with.
Yeah. Dads and dads, moms and moms, uncles and aunts, whatever. So
families are back together and able to communicate on a different level, and hopefully they're taking advantage of that gift.
Well, I'm going to leave early today, shortly after this is done, and I'm going to go do a scavenger hunt with my kids.
Is it a Pokemon scavenger hunt?
It is. Damn Pokemon. Steve, did you ever go through that with your kids? Pokemon? Oh, praise God. I mean, seriously, it's the universe getting back at me for some of my sins, because I have spent more time and money on these damn Pokemon cards. And they don't, like, kids have, like, they have mounds of them that they're like, those are junk. They're not GXs or DXs or EXs. I don't know what any of this stuff means, but of course, me being the sucker, I'm going to go buy them. I bought them some more, and I'm going to hide them around the yard because they love scavenger hunts. They're 6-year-olds, and they still live in that imaginary realm of Theta. And I'm excited for that. We're gonna make some cookies tonight and maybe roast some marshmallows and stuff. So it's a great time to, like, take advantage of this for that aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Because your problems are still going to be there tomorrow, but you'll have the problems with the good memories.
Speaking of roasting marshmallows, spending time with family, and creating memories, if you see my hat here.
Yeah, what is
Fox
that?
Lake Campground of Bemidji. This is my friend's campground. So if you want to get out where coronavirus has not yet found, just kidding, they had their first case yesterday.
It's a setup.
No, it was like 2 hours ago. I just checked the news. But this is a great place where you, Scott, should schedule your next.
The problem is that you go to small town America, and we grew up on a farm. My parents are still there. Our parents are still there, and if they don't know you, they kind of not real welcoming right now. You're coming from the city, so be very careful where you're going. Just not that these aren't good people. It's just everyone's just a little suspicious right now.
They're like, "Are you coming to close down our bars? Because we're not closing them down."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone's going in and out of the back door in Buckman, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think there's a lot of towns that are still smoking up there indoors.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Steve's from South Carolina. He knows exactly what we're talking about.
Hey, no, we're sophisticated down here.
All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much.
Cheers.
We really appreciate it. Good catching up. I am Scott Pekarek, Real Estate World Podcast, with my minion in chief, Jeremy Pekarek. Steve Leitch graciously gave us almost a full hour of his time today, and we just want to, everyone listening, we hope you stay well, think thoughts of immunity, and stay healthy. Gotta get some.
Good to meet you, Steve.
See ya.
All right, see you guys.